Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Wonderful to be here with you all, folks. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case, and your host, Mark Minnella. Mark, good morning, brother. Great to be here again.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to be here with you all and excited about our show today. Today is Friday. And I don't know what that means besides it's Friday. There's a weekend coming.
You know what it means,
But
Mark?
It's always exciting that we get to know, Seth. What does it mean?
I was going to say it means questions.
Oh, questions. Right? That's right.
We got a lot of questions.
Do.
Exactly. Yeah. Folks, listen, you got to call in. 610-363-1110. You call in. We'll get to you as quickly as we can. We want to be able to do that today. Mark, I'm excited for the conversation today. We got some good things to talk about. It's going to be a fun time. We got Sam Case here as well. Again, 610-363-1110. Mark, let's kick it off with this. Folks, I do hope that you will, as I say to my children sometimes, put your listening ears on, because we got something really important to share with you this morning. So at the heart of Financial Issues, we have a vision for the ministry, and this is really Mark's vision for it. It's called Rescue 1T. Mark, I'd love to give you the chance to tell our listeners about this. What is Rescue 1T, and why is this core to the ministry of Financial Issues?
Oh, absolutely. Rescue 1T. The T stands for trillion. I don't know how many people realize how much money is in the U.S. stock market, but there's about $65 trillion of value in the U.S. stock market at any given time, give or take 10 trillion, any given day. So $65 trillion. Of that, I have estimated, and some have estimated probably 4 times more than me or 5 times more than me, but I have estimated about 50 billion of it is invested with biblically responsibly on purpose. Now think about that, 50 billion compared to 65 trillion. And it's hard for our brains even to take those numbers and correlate it, and I'll explain that in a little bit about what that really means. But what has happened is, I believe that if let's go back many, many years as a financial advisor, as a pioneer in the investment arena for biblical responsible investing, I had gotten so frustrated, not only with financial professionals who claim the name of Christ, but also individuals who would come to me and say, they wanted me to manage money, but didn't care about that BRI stuff or the values-based investing. And even when we'd do a little studying on it, they just couldn't get away from the glitter of gold being the most important part of it. And I got so frustrated with the world, with the path God had me on. Have you ever done that, where you start questioning, is this really where you want me, Lord? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Mark, can I ask a question? You've brought that up before, that Christians, in your experience, have been so hesitant to get on the BRI bandwagon. Why is that in these conversations?
Excellent question. The main reason, and I only found this out in the last few years of my practice, only figured it out, or it was only revealed to me by God in the last few years. Here it is. It comes from a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding of the true meaning of stewardship as a Christian. What happened was God challenged me to look at what stewardship meant and what it means to be a steward, to hear, well done, good and faithful steward, when we get to heaven. And so I started digging into that and looking at it. What I came down to was stewardship. The most encompassing definition I could come up with is stewardship is utilizing God's money for God's assets for God's purposes to God's glory. God's assets, if you study the Bible, are everything. He created everything. He owns everything. So the gold, the sheep, the horses, the money, everything is His and not ours. It's His. So His assets. And we're His. We're His twice. He created us and then He redeemed us. So we're His assets. So utilizing God's resources That's everything. For God's purposes, well, God's purposes are perfect, pure, holy, loving, kind, gentle. We could go on and on about that, using it to glorify God and selfless love, and in doing so to his glory. So effectively, everything that we have, that God allows into our life and trusts us to us, is part of our stewardship, including our lives. Now, if we take this definition, that includes investments, and most people didn't think about their investments as being part of stewardship. Maybe part of it was because not until recently within decades, we can go back to the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, less than 20-30% of American households were invested in the market. Well, with the changes in the laws in the 70s, the event of IRAs coming into Congress and being passed, and then going from planned benefit and retirement plans to 401ks where you actually manage it. Now we have close to 80% or more, I don't have a recent number, that are households in America that are investing. So maybe part of it was because nobody was involved in investing, or very few in the Christian community, but now they are. Another thing could be that stewardship isn't taught broadly like that in churches. I have to tell you, most of the time, if you went into a church and said, okay, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say stewardship? What do you think they're going to say?
Tithing, probably.
Tithing, exactly.
Probably tithing, yep.
Yeah, giving. And that's the way it's taught in the church. Some of it is for good reasons. Some of it is just to raise money, but the bottom line comes down to they take stewardship and they reduce it down to our giving. They don't even reduce it down to whose ownership it is oftentimes. So we have to realize that. So it's a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding of stewardship was keeping people from investing with biblical integrity. So that's when I started on my journey of launching Rescue 1T. The foundation of it is to teach people that stewardship is all-encompassing. To me, what stewardship means, it's how I live out the truth of my salvation. Bottom line. And another way to say it is utilizing God's resources for God's purposes to his glory. Once you understand that, you can't exclude your investments from there. It includes how you invest, who you partner with through your ownership, and those kind of things. So we start talking about that. Well, what Rescue 1T, 1 trillion, comes down to is talking about, we have $65 trillion right now that is being stewarded by darkness, or the bulk of it. The goal of Rescue 1T is to purposely rescue $1 trillion out from under the darkness of secularism and get it back under godly stewardship. You see, when we invest with godly stewardship, we see wonderful and righteous things ripple through our life and the lives of others. Unfortunately, the opposite is true too. When we allow those things that belong to God, which is everything, to be stewarded by ugliness, by darkness, by evil, by secularism, what we see is we have evil, we have deterioration, we have death, we have pain that just ripples through our society as well. So the goal is to start with just rescuing $1 trillion out from under the darkness of secularism and get it back under godly stewardship and see the impact it has in our society. And a lot of people have asked me, why 1 trillion? Why not 50 trillion or have it all? Well, the good thing about God is his efficiency and what a quality God he is. He's perfect. So he can do so much with so little. And what pops into my mind is when Jesus was speaking, the people were getting hungry. Seth, how many fish and loaves of bread did he have to feed 5,000?
Yeah, Mark, it was 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And the 5 loaves of bread were really more like 5 pieces of a cracker. And the 2 fish were really like 2 tiny sardines. So it was basically like a snack.
Goodness.
It wasn't even a meal. And that's what he used.
And what did he do? He took that and he fed 5,000 people with it.
Yeah.
Or What about Gideon and his battle? What did God do there?
So, Mark, actually, just before I say the thing about Gideon, it was 5,000 men, possibly 20 to 25,000 people if you include women and children, which is just amazing. But with Gideon, it was 300 that he had whittled them down against an army of 150,000 Midianites, something like that. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So God is so efficient, he can do so much. So let's start with 1 trillion. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Let's start with 1 trillion, and then we can start impacting the society. And the 1 trillion, rescuing 1 trillion will have an impact many people don't understand. I'd like to talk about that when we do come back, about the impact of what it means when we invest with biblical integrity, how that affects our society, and where does all this ugliness of secular stewardship come from? You know, who's financing that? And I think you'll be really surprised, and we will talk about that when we come back.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it, Mark. Folks, if you want to join the conversation, today's a great day to do so. 610-363-1110. If you've got questions about Rescue 1T or any of the other things we're talking about, call us now. 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each perspective carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
I started investing close to 30 years ago now. All that time, I had never heard anyone talk about setting up your portfolio in a way that glorifies God. When I first heard about it, I was listening to the radio, a show called Financial Issues. They were teaching people how to honor God with their money. I became a partner with Financial Issues, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to work.
Like this big and I saw his heart beating on the screen. I don't want this baby to talking to my child on the screen. That sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to Mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Give your call up now, folks. 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you. Call us. 610-363-1110. Mark, we're talking about Rescue 1T. It's getting me excited. I think it's getting our audience excited as well. James in the chat with a great comment here. James from South Carolina saying, a catchy title, Rescue 1T. We are bought with a price, and I can't afford the buyback. James, amen, brother. Awesome.
There is no buyback. It is the perfect price, the blood of Christ.
Amen.
And we are so blessed. We are so blessed.
We really are.
Well, and we were talking about it, but what I'd really like to get to, and this is so important, and this is what a lot of people miss also, when we talk about rescuing God's resources back from under the darkness of secularism, back under the wings and perfection of godly stewardship. It is huge, and here's why. Who do you think's financing all this secularism? Who do you think is paying for this? You know, and it's very easy. You just follow the money. Have you ever heard that term? Follow the money. And if you follow it, it goes all the way back up to the top at Wall Street, and people are going, what? Yeah. It's the Wall Street people who are doing this. It's the companies on Wall Street that are doing it. The companies that are being financed by public purchasing of stocks and bonds and all that kind of stuff, a lot of that money is used to finance the secularism. Not only in the products or services that the companies do or offer, like abortions, pornography, prostitution, and things that would be illegal, but they still do. But, addictive products, things like that, but by the donations that the corporations make to organizations that are trying to engineer our society. So we follow money back up to the top, and we find that corporations, as we just saw with NVIDIA, are paying for trans surgeries and proudly doing so. We see that other large corporations are backing Planned Parenthood and murdering our babies. We see all this kind of stuff going on from there, but it gets worse. Here's the bottom line, and this is what really gets me, is it's those corporations that control what kind of movies are made, what is the message of those meetings, what are the television shows that are being made, and how those are supported. They won't advertise on shows that are that lift God up, that make men and women who follow God anything but fools. They'll only do it to those shows that are purporting sexual immorality and drunkenness, drugs, all sorts of perversion. So it's follow the money up, and it's Wall Street. That's what we come down to. It's Wall Street where we need to be looking at. So when you invest with biblical integrity, what you're doing is you're moving your support from those companies that are involved in the ugliness, the secularism, the anti-God, anti-family arena, to those companies that at the very least are neutral. And in doing so, the lack of your support there actually affects other support that could be there from people investing in it. It also gets you out of partnering with those companies so that you're not participating in their sins. Well, if God could take a few fish and a couple of loaves of bread and feed $5,000 to $25,000, think what he can do if we just rescue $1 trillion out of $65 trillion, and what he could do with that. It would be incredible. We'd find righteousness. We'd find wonderful things rippling through our society as people become more and more respectful of one another, where people aren't stumbling on their way to God because they're seeing their television shows every night as a child all the way up till they go to college, programming them to accept sexual immorality of all kinds. They start seeing shows that are wholesome, teaching godly things instead of ugliness. So that's why this is so important. And that's why financial issues is here. That's why this is the heart of financial issues. We want anybody and everybody who will listen, who will watch, who will come on board to be educated, equipped, and prepared to be able to manage a portfolio for themselves that would actually honor God in doing so, which is blessings in your life, but also the products and services you're utilizing, those stocks, those bonds would come back under godly stewardship, and as effect of that, we could change society. And we already are curbing society. The few little things that we're seeing, the changes that we're seeing, the pullbacks. A lot of people say, well, that's just because of a different administration. And no, that administration is in because there's enough of us who realize our responsibility to God, that we are going to live out the truth of our salvation by being great stewards, even in our investments. And that's what this is all about. And I hope not only will you get on board with us, which a lot of our partners have, but I'm hoping you'll share the truth. Help people understand stewardship isn't just about giving, although giving is a very important part of that pie. It is so much more. It's about how we live, how we earn our money, how we spend our money, how we invest our money. And one last thing, the big deal about investing, why I make such a big deal of it, this is the froth of those assets he entrusted to you as a steward. It's not the root beer itself in the glass. I'm going to use a little illustration here. The root beer tastes great and fulfills our need for our thirst, but the froth on that, when you start lifting that to drink, you smell that aroma, that wonderful aroma of a root beer, right? Well, that's the froth. It really doesn't quench your thirst. It really doesn't do that. but it's above and beyond the necessary needed to quench your thirst. It's above and beyond what the product itself was made for or can do for you. And it's this froth to us as stewards, the money above and beyond our daily living that we put into investments, that we put into, preparing for the future or growing our investments to help others along the way, to be conduits of those blessings towards that giving part of the pie, that kind of thing. And being the froth, being part above, beyond our everyday needs, that means, why wouldn't anybody who claims the name of Christ want to at least take the froth, use it in a way that glorifies God, especially since you're not losing control or use of that money? And that, to me, elevates it, because it's not having to make a painful decision. Do I get new shoes for the kids, or do I give this to the church or to this ministry? This is, I have this here. All I have to do to glorify God is invest it in a way that honors Him and not partner with evil. Boom, right?
Well said,
I'm
brother.
sorry.
Mark, I love
Okay.
that. And Mark, here's a thought that just came to my mind too. There's some encouragement here for our listeners that we have to remember is we're not starting from zero. For every listener who is investing in a biblically responsible way, investing with biblical integrity, the money that you have made on those investments, that money, that has been rescued. That's part of that $1 trillion.
Amen.
We're well on our way there, Mark. I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure it's a pretty sizable start. And that's really encouraging.
Yeah.
That's really encouraging.
The key term purposefully is one that is very important in the Rescue 1T, because there's a lot of stocks, a lot of bonds, a lot of things that are on Wall Street that don't offend God. But the people owning those didn't buy them for that. They bought them for a different reason. And oftentimes it's why we do what we do that is important. That's why I say purposefully 20 to 50 billion. It easily could be $1 trillion right now that doesn't offend God or more. But it's not purposefully. So the purposefulness is where the stewardship comes in. Yeah. And that's what we are all about at Financial Issues. That's what we're about here, and that's what you're about, our partners. And we want to grow this and watch the impact in the world, send up that wonderful aroma of our offering to God, that we're investing His money His way for His purposes and to His glory.
Amen. Mark, I appreciate those words, brother. 610-363-1110, folks. Mark, let's get to a question here from Joe. Joe is 69, and he has a good question. He says, I'd appreciate Mark and the team's thoughts on the realness of dollar crash threats and what FISM partners can do or should do to protect the decades of God-provided wealth accumulation. So, Mark, moving kind of from the spiritual more to the financial, how would you help Joe here?
I was going to say, that's a big step we're taking and changing in conversation.
Big topic change. That's right.
But yeah, Joe, I appreciate it. There's a lot of talk today, especially on different websites, like things with digital currency or precious metals. And for my whole life, precious metals has used this argument: the dollar's going to collapse, the U.S. dollar is going to be worthless, and when that happens, you need golden guns and blah blah blah. I said that kind of rudely. I'm sorry about that. It's just after 30, 40 years of hearing that, I'm actually leaning more towards we're headed in that direction, Joe. So, in effect, I'm agreeing with you. I just don't like the way it's used for marketing and selling products and service and manipulating God's children. So take that a little bit, realizing that I do agree we're headed. And if we don't curb things, we could head towards a dollar collapse. Now, do I mean tomorrow? No, I mean it's almost like rust. It's a slow drip of destroying our dollar and having the BRIC nations offering up their own currency to be used for international trade and things like that. But I don't think those are as big a threat as our debt is, Joe. And that's the thing that worries me the most, is how our Congress, since I've been thinking adult, has been destroying our nation and our dollar by running deficits, by running our debt up. And I think that will be the final trigger. When debt gets so big we can't handle it anymore, when debt gets to the point that we're paying more interest than we're taking in as taxes, we'll have to see taxes go through the ceiling. We'll see people around the world losing faith in the U.S. dollar, and that's when it'll start collapsing. I heard a quote, and I don't know why it's by, but they said the collapse of the dollar will be a very slow moving thing until it collapses. And that'll be instantaneous. I don't want anybody to get upset or worry about this, but we do need to get, it looks like I'm on soapboxes today, Seth. I'm sorry.
Stay up there, brother. Keep going.
But we need to get to our Congress, especially the Democrats in Congress who are holding our nation hostage right now. And they're holding it hostage on key things that could help our debt be reduced quickly. For example, giving benefits to illegal aliens or able-bodied citizens, even people who shouldn't be on it, who don't need to be on it, but are on it because the laws and the things that were passed, and I believe to buy votes in the past. You know, if you're able-bodied, if you're able to work, I think it's biblical and I think it's true. You shouldn't be getting our other taxpayer monies to support your lifestyle so you can stay home and play games on your computer. We also need to get rid of the fraud and the waste, and there's so much fraud. They estimate over $1 trillion in fraud is going on right now. Let's just stop that. Let's stop programs that are giving money and supporting illegal aliens. I'm not saying stop being compassionate, just stop supporting people that come in, giving them housing. And
folks, we'll talk about this on the other side of the break. More.
Where's Mima? We found out Shepard's diagnosis when I was about 17 weeks pregnant. We learned that he was going to need a series of surgeries after he was born in order to give him what they considered a normal life. And we weren't sure how this worked.
Yeah, very emotional, very, very broken. And as my wife just said, not sure how this worked. And called Samaritan, and they said, you just go have that baby. You leave the rest to us.
And just to hear the confidence on the other end of the phone of this is not something that you need to be concerned about at all. You focus on the health of your family, the health of your baby, and we will walk with you every step of the way.
I started investing close to 30 years ago now. All that time, I had never heard anyone talk about setting up your portfolio in a way that glorifies God. When I first heard about it, I was listening to the radio, a show called Financial Issues. They were teaching people how to honor God with their money. That made a lot of sense to me. I guard my heart, my mind. I watch my mouth, hoping to bring glory to God in everything I do and say. Well, why wouldn't I want to do the same with my money? I decided I wanted my portfolio to glorify God. I became a partner with Financial Issues, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. I want to leave a legacy of godliness for those who are following in my footsteps. Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
I found out I was pregnant when I was 21 years old. For me, I was scared, I was shaking. I Googled places to abort. We drive there, and as soon as we get there, I open the door, and the first thing that I see is a bunch of Bible verses in the walls. They gave me a little counseling session, they gave me the pregnancy test again, and they do an ultrasound. And that's when everything changed. When I saw my baby, and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it. We decided with my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, to continue the pregnancy together. We started coming to the classes, doing our homework, getting counseling together. We've seen the hand of God ever since we stepped into the pregnancy center.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Mark, I want to tell you something, brother. Never apologize for the soapbox or for cooking as you've been today. It's been a cooking day for sure. We're loving it. 610-363-1110. Yeah, no, I really love what you're saying, Mark.
But I do want to say that it's really important that we realize we don't move out of fear or even economic fears. We're just going to move forward wisely, prepare the portfolios to do the right things. I don't see the dollar collapsing to get down to the bottom line of that or in a week or in a month. But if we don't change course, if we don't contact our congressmen, if we don't elect godly men and women who will get the budget under control and better than that, pay down that budget, if we allow this to continue on and continue allowing radicals, non-Christian believers or believers in other religions that want to destroy Christianity in the world into Congress, we will see the dollar eventually collapse. So, when you say, what should we do about this? First thing you do about it is you get on your knees, you pray to God, you thank Him for allowing you to be here at this time for this purpose. Then you start helping elect godly people to Congress to get the budget under control. When it comes to your own portfolio, continue down the path that you're on now with your portfolio, utilizing the asset allocation and the partner hub, picking the stocks that we've already screened so that you know that they are within the stewardship realm. They do not conflict with biblical integrity as far as what you're owning. And if you're still convicted that this is scarier or the Lord puts on your heart, you need to be a little bit more safety, you could be buying physical assets a little bit more, maybe 5 to 10% of gold and silver, things like that, so that they're a hedge against a collapsing dollar. Now, I really don't like the idea of people who go out and they put 50 to 80 to 90 or 100% of their investments in such things. Even those things will if God decides it's time for the United States to be coming under correction, those things won't be able to do what you're hoping that they'll do. In fact, you won't be able to utilize them because as soon as somebody sees you have gold in an environment where the dollar has collapsed, there'll be blood in the streets. So they'll come for you with that. So just realize we don't move in fear. We move in trusting in love and the Holy Spirit, and we do what we can do. Part of our stewardship we didn't talk about early is that we have in our country the stewardship over our government. Most of us do not steward that well. We don't pay attention. We don't write letters. We don't go out and actively look for and encourage and support those who need our support. That are godly stewardships that we could get in there. We got an election coming up, midterm election. I hope everybody hearing this who will go out and vote in accordance with God's will, not your politicians' will, and definitely don't vote in anybody who is communist or anything that is secular, but wants to balance that budget, wants to honor God in their service. So that's what we could do, Joe.
Awesome. No, Mark, that's a really good answer because I know at times I felt this, and Joe, perhaps you have as well, that with the threat of a dollar crash, whether perceived or real, sometimes it does feel like, well, what can we do? It's just going to be inevitable. But there actually is something we can do. And you're exactly right, Mark. And folks, we've got to do this. You have a country to steward. I mean, seriously.
That's right.
We've got
it's part of our stewardship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where this starts, Mark. And, it's a good reminder. Wicked leaders can come in all different shapes and sizes, but they're almost always a form of God's judgment upon a people, which means we need to pray for God's grace. We need to pray for God's grace on us. And then we need to act and vote in such a way that's in line with that.
Prayer first. That's the biggest. Go to God. He'll help you understand how to become a better steward over your government.
Yeah.
He'll help you understand how to be a better steward over your investments, the froth of your stewardship. He'll help you understand it all.
And he's the one who can actually change things. I think the reason people don't want to be a good steward over the government, they think I'm just one person. That doesn't matter what I do. But, God can do something.
Exactly.
I'm just 1 out of 5 loaves of bread that are going to feed 25,000.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
put it in perspective.
It's a good thing at the end of the day, and I say this at the end of the day because in the beginning Gideon kind of did feel this way, but at the end of the day he didn't think, oh, this is all up to me, because it was not up to him. I mean, God fought for them, and God won the battle, and that's what we need to rely on, man. It's well said. Really good. 610-363-1110, folks. Number to call in, 610-363-1110. Hey, Mark, we got a question from Carol Lee. I think it's a good one here. Carol Lee is 66, and she's asking, hey, Mark, I was trying to remember what Dan had said about the percentages of our portfolios. When we try to figure the percentage, do we figure it on the total amount of our current profits or the amount we originally invested? Also, I have more than 500% profit on a stock, so should I consider selling it since it's about 35% of my portfolio? Hope this all makes sense. God bless. Carol Lee, well done. What do you have, Mark, for Carol?
Well, first, let me apologize for all those profits that you're receiving. No. Praise God that He blessed you so abundantly with that. Yeah, and it's an excellent question. Always when it comes to figuring out your allocation, your portfolio, you're using current values of each asset that's in your portfolio and current value of the total value of your portfolio to figure out the percentages of how much you have in there. So it sounds like you might be way overweighted in one area. I know that we've talked about this before several times in the last few weeks, so it must be on everybody's mind. So thank you for bringing this up so we can talk about it and help hone it in. When we talk about pruning back on things, we're not saying sell it off, get rid of it totally. We're saying let's bring it back within range. Usually we suggest 3%, no more than 3% of initial purchases into a new asset, a new stock, or REIT or whatever. And we usually don't like going over that, especially for stocks on initial purchase. Once it starts growing, gets above 5%, maybe it's time to start, trimming a little bit, taking some of the profits, or especially if it gets over 10%, you want to prune it back. Prune it back to somewhere around 3 to 5%. Therefore, you're keeping that asset that still seems to have growth in it, and then you also are reducing the risk of overweighting in one single issue that could pull down your whole portfolio value on a downturn. So it's wise. It makes sense. We use asset allocation. We use those percentages to help protect, to bring down the volatility of the roller coaster on that ride to creating wealth and where God wants us to go. And we don't let things overweight our portfolios. There's no loss here. Yeah, maybe we could have made more if we would have stayed in that forever. But just like everything else, things that shoot up like a bottle rocket come down like a bottle rocket at some time too. And we don't know when that can happen. So take those profits off the table, maintain that product if it's still on the buy list, and continue forward with a balanced asset allocation to protect you from risk.
That's awesome. And Carol Lee, one of the great things about that is, Mark, tell me if I'm wrong with this, but I think it's true. There's always pockets of opportunity, right? You can take those profits and you can disperse them elsewhere.
Just go back to the Partners Hub, the buy list, and disperse them into other stocks, other bonds, other REITs, other wherever your allocation says to put it.
Awesome. Carol Lee, thanks for the question. That's wonderful. Great stuff.
It is wonderful.
610-363-1110. Folks, 610-363-1110. Hey, Karen, we see you in the call queue. We'll get to you on the other side of this break here. Mark, I know we got the ag report coming up here, but once again, Mark, I just want to tell you, thank you for the rants, man. I enjoyed that earlier. I hope we can get some more of that. That's fun stuff for sure.
Mark the rant man.
The soapbox is always available for Mark Minnella.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. 610-363-1110, folks. We got the ag report coming up here and then more financial issues on the other side. Again, call into the show, folks. We'd love to hear from you. 610-363-1110. We'll be back.
This is Craig Haugard with your Financial Issues Egg update for October 24th. Well, corn benefited from a rally in crude oil, and that, coupled with fund buying, pushed prices higher during yesterday's session. Harvest in the Eastern Corn Belt is wrapping up, and historically, once the crop gets put away, the basis tends to zoom higher. We're already seeing various rail lines engaging in moving corn from the Western and Central Corn Belts into the East, as end users in the Eastern Corn Belt are not well covered beyond the nearby month. We had December corn finish the nickel higher at $4.28 per bushel. The soybean complex was stronger across the board as optimism builds ahead of next Thursday's meeting between President Trump and President Xi. President Trump is putting an optimistic front on the talks that he'll be able to strike a deal finished a dime higher at $10.44 3/4. Chicago wheat rallied as the general commodity optimism spread throughout the grains, and as the market anticipates something good coming out of the meeting between Trump and Xi. Now, rumors suggesting that China has already bought some U.S. wheat made the rounds yesterday, but with the government closed, no official confirmation can be made. Minneapolis December wheat was 10 1/4 cents higher at $5.50, 11.5 better at $5 even, and Chicago was 9.5 cents higher at $5.13. Cotton futures seem to be consolidating on the heels of the recent down move. Yesterday saw the December futures ending the session 33 points higher at 64.07. Livestock futures were mixed. December live cattle futures were $1.35 higher, $241.17 per hundredweight. November feeder cattle were $2.77 lower at $361.45 per hundred. And December lean hog futures were down 62.5 cents at $81.77 per hundredweight. Pushed closer to the resistance level, which is located at 1767. The closing bell November futures were 29 points better, closing at 1743. Well, this has been Craig Haugard with your Financial Issues Egg update. We'll be right back with more financial issues after this.
In a world where financial decisions can feel overwhelming, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: our family, our faith, and our future. With financial issues by our side, we can invest knowing that our financial decisions are in line with our values. Take the first step today and become a financial issues partner to access rich online resources, training tools, and guidance for biblically responsible investing. Head over to financialissues.org and learn how to invest your money in a way that honors God. That's financialissues.org.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone. And ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
610-363-1110. We got some calls in the queue, folks, but there's still time if you want to get in there. 610-363-1110. Mark, it's been a fun show, and I'm excited to talk to some of our listeners who have called in here.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. You notice that most of the show I went without my sleeves rolled up, but obviously with all these calls and stuff, we're digging in.
It's time to get to work,
roll my sleeves up here. I thought it was going to be an easy Friday.
Right, as if you haven't already been cooking for 45 minutes, if you know what I mean. It's fun stuff. Hey, let's go to Karen here, Mark. Karen's calling from Alabama. Karen, good morning. You're live on Financial Issues.
Thank you so much. Did you get my question?
Good morning, Karen.
Yeah, Karen, why don't you go ahead and ask it for us here?
Okay, I was just wondering if Nuveen, the JPC fund, is biblically responsible. Should I sell it? I've had it for about 18 years.
Oh, okay.
Years. Wow.
That's great. So it's part of your income portfolio. Nuveen, let's see. Seth, I think you were taking a look at that.
So Karen, I just screened it. It is screening clean. You can rest assured there. Yeah.
You're feeling better about it now, huh?
Yes,
Yeah, that's good. The thing is that it's clean by default. We always want to realize that it's not clean on purpose. Nowhere in their prospectus does it say it's investing with biblical integrity or screening for issues that would compromise biblical principles. So you want to keep an eye on that. And the way you do that is, I assume you're a partner. Is that true?
I am, but I never have been able to use the part there that tells me if it's biblically responsible. I don't know what the problem is.
Oh. Karen, would you maybe we can have somebody help her with that?
Yeah, that would be a great thing to do. You know, Karen, let me just tell you really quick here, and then we can maybe have Darlene walk you through it if you have questions more so. But if you go to the website, financialissues.org, under the resources tab, there's the evaluator button. Click on that, follow the directions, and that's how you can screen it clean. You'd put the ticker symbol in there, and it would then tell you, like, you can, check there, and that's kind of how that would basically happen there. And part of the reason, Mark, I wanted to say that on air is I'm guessing some other folks might be wondering too.
Right,
so just for anyone
and if you do have issues with the site, please email us.
Yeah,
let us know. And Lynn, at the very least,
I have been there, and I do have issues with it. It's saying I have the wrong password in there, and I don't have any idea what my password is.
Okay, let's get somebody to contact you and help you. We'll do that. Yeah. Don't worry about it, Lynn.
Sure.
Thank you for letting us know that. And if for some reason you can't, give us a call quarterly, and we'll. Karen, I'm sorry. If there's some reason you can't get to that, give us a call. We'll screen it for you.
And hey, Karen, why don't you stay on the line, Dar? If you can get Karen's information, and then we can reach out to her. That would be great. Thanks,
okay.
Karen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. God bless. Good stuff, Mark. Why don't we go to Lynn now? Lynn's calling from Oregon. Up early this morning.
Well, obviously, I want to get to talking to her. I kept calling Karen Lynn.
It's all good. Lynn, good morning. You're live on Financial Issues from the West Coast. Good morning to you.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. I have a quick question regarding what Mark was saying, selling off part of your stocks if that particular stock has grown a lot and it's a larger part of your portfolio than you would like.
Mm-hmm.
On the downside, doesn't that mean, though, that you, from then on, have less of that stock to continue to increase?
Absolutely. It surely does. You won't realize as much gains if that stock just continues to rise as strongly as it did in the past. Or even just rise continuously like that. That is a downside to trimming your assets to be protective. Remember, it's not about getting every ounce, squeezing the lemon like that. That is important. The reason we invest is for profits, bottom line. God calls us to be good stewards of what he has given us, especially that froth. So we want to invest in a way that honors him by being biblically responsible first. Second, to invest in those things that we believe in the long term will provide growth and help us to create wealth for the kingdom. But to do that, what we will see right now, we've been going through some really great markets for quite a while now, and people are getting placid and forget that the last time they went through something like this, they lost 30 to 50% of their portfolios because it just dropped off the edge before they could get out of them. So to help prevent that, what we do is we keep a diversification, which does not allow any one asset, especially those that have the high PEs that are overbought, that are oversold, become too big in your portfolio, that if those are pulled down, because usually the overbought assets, the overbought stocks, those are the ones that crash the hardest and the fastest. So this is a way to protect your portfolio from major downtrends, to at least trim it out so that you don't have as big of a fall, and the other assets, maybe the diversification into other assets, into other sectors, into other areas will help you to not fall as fast or as hard. So yes, the upside problem is you may lose some short-term, mid-term, and it even could be long-term, because a stock could continue up like that for a long, long time. But when it becomes such a huge part of your portfolio, I mean, take it to the ultimate extent. Let's say it took over your portfolio till it was the only stock in your portfolio, and then something comes out about it, or the markets hit a cliff and that thing plunges 50%, where, well, you had a lot of gains in it, but now you don't have them anymore because you were all in one place. If it would have been diversified, maybe some of those would have gone down 10%. Maybe some of them would have stayed up, and it'll help average out and take a little bit of that downturn away. Unfortunately, it does trim some off the top as well. But that's prudence. That's prudence for a long-term investor. So it's between you and God, though. If you really believe, like, I'm going to hold on to this is a great stock, I don't see anything ever wrong with it. I don't care if it's got a PE of 350. I don't care if their debt ratio is 365% to their assets. Doesn't matter. They've been running for 2-3 years. I'm going to handle it. Go for it. If that's where you're at peace. We do not recommend that. We recommend a prudent step-by-step approach.
And Lynn, you can think about it this way too. What Mark is suggesting, it's kind of a win-win. Because if, so say you have a stock, you've got 20 shares in that stock and it's run up a lot. And you're like, I'm going to take some profits. I'll sell 10 shares. You've made the profits on those 10 shares. The 10 shares that you have, say they keep going up, it's still going up. Like, that position that you have in that stock is still going up. So that's a win-win there also. It's a neat way to kind of think about that.
That's a good idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your call.
It's great.
God
Lynn.
bless you. And thank you for your wanting to invest with biblical integrity.
Yeah, and Lynn, thanks for listening to us at before 7 in the morning on the West Coast. That's awesome. That's good stuff. Yeah, Mark, I'm grateful that Lynn's asking that question, because I think she's asking the right questions. There is a good desire to want to make as much as you can and to get as much build as you can, not because we worship wealth, but because we want to honor God with.
Well, we want to be the best we can be in it all.
Exactly. But I think what you said is so key.
But not at the expense of taking unnecessary risk. It's kind of like collectors of stamps or collectors of different things. It's great that you're collecting stamps. It's great that you're doing these things. But if your whole life is in those things, and something happens to those things, it takes your peace away, it takes your joy away, it takes everything away. We have to be very careful about what we do and how we do it. God calls us to prudence, not greed. He calls us to be systematic in what we're doing in a way that honors Him, not just to buy into one thing in the hype of the world, to listen to God's directives. He tells us to diversify. He tells us pick 6, maybe 7 things to diversify into. We see that in the Bible. We're just trying to be biblical, and not only in what we buy, how we buy it, and keep it diversified and develop wealth in a biblical perspective. That's the bottom line on it. Now, I know some people who own their own business. By the way, that's an investment. Oftentimes people would say, Mark, what are you invested in? And I'd say, myself. I'm building a business here, and that business is huge. But it could go down the tube too, so I have other investments over here. From the profits of this, I prune the profits off. Instead of dumping them all into my business, I put some over here into the market and partner, buy stock in other companies. And that helps me to have a little buffer if for some reason the government regulates me out of business, or the world changes, investment philosophy and investment guidance, management becomes a commodity or something like that, I still have an area to support not only my lifestyle, but help me support the ministries and those things that are important to me. So that's why we go that direction. That's why we continue to harp on the idea that it is so very important to be systematic, prudent, and stable in your portfolio. Not to go to get rich quick, not to dump everything in a new meme coin, or to put everything in gold, because gold goes up and down and faster sometimes than the stock market does. We want to be prudent, be diversified, trim the risk down, and build wealth systematic. And to do so in a way that honors God. That's why I'm so grateful you're here and with us, and that you have a desire to honor God in all you do, including investing with integrity. God bless everybody.
we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.